I am tripping over these cases, these tool cases and little vacuums and things. They're all over the shop. They're underfoot. They're taking up floor space. I got to do something about them. What do I mean by cases? Well, I have a lunchbox vacuum, a Ryobi 6-inch buffer, a Craig pocket hole jig, and a Porter cable plate joiner, a Ryobi 18-volt cordless saw and cordless drill, a rigid laminate trimmer, a DeWalt cordless vacuum, a Craftsman toolbox, box of screws, another box of screws. I mean, it's a good problem to have. I'm glad I have these tools, don't get me wrong. I just want to organize. So what I'm going to do, I have this idea for a case sorting thing that's going to go under my work table here. Before I can build the rack under this work table, I have to move all of the crap out from under the work table. And I got to figure out where am I putting all this stuff. But first up, I want to move all of these liquids. And I think the best place for them is going to be the lower shelf, the bottom shelf of the rack that I just moved in here in the last video. Because then if they spill, they'll just go right on the floor, not on anything on a lower shelf. So let's just get that done. These liquids have been stored in this hot garage for 14 years, so they're probably all dead by now, but here's hoping some survived. So that's a lot of stuff cleared out. I didn't put everything there. I put some of it over there with the pest control type stuff, like lawn sprays and whatnot. I kind of have an idea where to stash things for now, so let's just do it the YouTube way. Yeah, that's better. Wait, let me try that on my router table real quick. It's a mess. Amazing. Why don't I do that all the time? I installed another set of brackets up on the wall in the far corner here, so I can move the 1x2s over to here, and then they'll be out of the way. All right, time to move these 1x2s here. This color comes from a set. My buddy wrote a play that takes place on a spaceship back in college, and I helped put the play on. I built some things for it, like the cockpit and airlock doors that would open, you know, like Star Trek doors. And then we put the play on again when we all moved to Los Angeles after college. We put it on in Hollywood in an improv studio, and I helped build another set that was smaller on a smaller stage. But these are from that set. That's where that blue comes from. All right, time to move these. I think I'm just gonna throw them right up on there. Throw them right up on there. It'll be done in one shot. And they're up. And just like that, they're out of the way. I suppose I could have put them on these down here. Okay, before we commit to building this whole rack, let's make sure that the cases even fit. And we could just go small to big right across, like this. That was cool. Or I could go the opposite way, like this. Or even... No, you're right, that's stupid. Okay, it's time to build this case rack finally. Been dragging my heels for a little while now. Recently, somebody posted a bunch of free wood online. They were doing a restaurant renovation. They were tearing out the whole inside. It was I have a covered truck and, you know, the canvas cover on the top and a pickup truck, and it was 3 full hauls. So I found these long 2x4s in there. So we're going to need to cut these to length. But first I want to build the frames that are going to go in these little holes. And I'm going to do a cheap and dirty length gauge trick I've done for years anytime I need to measure something like this. They're just some kind of ratty cutoffs, but they're rough, which is nice because that means when you press them together, they don't slide. And you can even slide them with your finger until they touch and back it off until it's just enough clearance. And then I'm just pressing them together. And now all I have to do is measure that. So not my best tape measure, but if we look, it comes to about 22 3/4, maybe slightly less. I think I'm gonna go with 22 as the height measurement because I don't want it to be pressed all the way tight up against the top. Okay, I had to get 2 different pieces of scrap here. So then you wanna kind of move it around because it's hard to find exactly, you know, where is level and everything. So I basically pushed these out, so now they kind of rub. right? But I can tilt them all around. And what that means is we have a kind of true width, which seems to be 13 and 3/4 would be good. All right, test fit time. Wow, like a glove. Perfect. All right, so we got the 2 cut, and I did 2 more for the other side. Okay, this is what we're gonna be making, just 2 of these frames. Not sure why or how, but my camera did not record audio for the clips at the drill press table here. All I'm doing, though, is drilling some countersunk through holes where the 2x4s will be on the other side. So you can think of these as the rails, the top and bottom of the frame, and I'll be just screwing through those into the vertical stiles on the sides of the frame. And the fence just makes it easy to keep the holes the same distance from the edges. I'm using 2.5-inch wood screws and hoping the heads don't break off like they enjoy doing. Okay, I should have pre-drilled this thing. I didn't think it was going to be this crazy. And I said up front, I hope these wood screws don't break, like the heads don't break off. Look at this. I broke off the heads of 2 of them. So, yeah, putting this in there straight, it started spinning freely, and I don't believe it. It broke. So then I backed it out, and I can't go in because the rest of the screw is stuck in here. So I tried going in at an angle. I thought, let me just sneak by it. And I broke that one off too before it even got all the way in. I hate wood screws. I really do. I just want to use long drywall screws for everything in woodworking. I'm going to use these used deck screws. I also had to find the special bit. It's like a square and a Phillips put together. Time to see if we measured correctly. And that's going to be flush. Ooh, this one's a little tighter. I actually was able to bang it into place. We got our wood frames in. Now we're just going to span them with these things. Have a thought here, using something like this so I can put the largest thing, which is the Ryobi. This has a few tools in it, rechargeable stuff. Let's see if this fits. It does. Fits with pretty good clearance. I could actually go up another inch or 2. Now I can mark. Okay, so if I pull this up against here, this is like where we want the top to be. Okay, so that mark is 8.5 inches down. Okay, so what I want to do now is cut some little stoppers that I can screw to this thing, because that makes it a lot easier to put those 8-foot runners across, sit them on there, clamp them, and drill them in. Okay, that's pretty good. So that would go something like this. And actually this needs to come down because the boards are going to sit up here. The top needs to be here. Okay, I made a few more. Need to get my workbench cleared off. More things. Okay. Here. Okay. I don't think my drill's going to fit in there. I'm going to have to do this by hand. Not too bad. Okay, and then there were 2. Looks like we got plenty of room in there. I'll have to cut these to length, of course, but now it's easy to mark them. Okay, now we have this and this beam down here, and that creates a face here that is flush with the back of this thing, the inside, which means when we push this forward, it can butt up against that. And then the front edge of this frame, the inside edge here, will be flush with this. Why am I struggling to drill some holes? It is 94 degrees in this garage. It's a dry heat though, but I'm feeling it. Ah, I knew it. Got it. Oh. That screw dropped in a little too easily, so I'm gonna go down a size. Okay, we got the 2 screws in there, the 2 screws in there. I don't know if I'm gonna fix these in. They really should have something like screwed onto this or on the back or something to kind of hold it on both sides. But if this is rigidly holding that from turning at all, it might be good enough. Start to get rid of all of these. Ugh. Okay. You gotta clean up after yourself, folks. This is why all of your garages are a mess. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got so far with these 2 cross beams. It's worked out pretty well. All right, so now we have to talk about planks. I'm thinking of going with these aged fence boards that I just got from a haul recently. Cool. So I can get about 3 boards out of this. I did mess up the first one. I got a slightly short piece. I'll start bringing in the boards and we'll cut the rest. Okay, so what I want to do here is make sure these boards are pressed that way. Get this board in here. Strike it. Along there. And then we've got a little mark here we can set up our saw to match. Maybe put it this way. All right, let's take a look at all of them together. I think I like this rustic look. I mean, I can always take them apart and clean them all up if I don't want that look later. But I think I'm gonna leave them rustic like that. I was wondering how I was gonna mark them earlier, but I think the best way would just be to scribe them against the edge of the 2x4, and I can flip it over and I'll have a way to line it up for the drilling. I just want to drill them once in the center. I don't want to put 2 and 2 for everything. It's too much. There's a cup here and a bow there. So when they're sitting on the 2x4s, they should be sitting on their outer edges, and just putting 1 screw in the middle will kind of pull it down flat. So what I'm going to do to find the middle, I'm going to eyeball it first. Right here. And all I'm going to do is, with this pushed up against the fence and centered visually here, I'm just going to pop it. And then I'm just going to turn it around, and wow, I'm dead center. I eyeballed it exactly. I scribed a little B off camera so I remember where the back was. So I'm just going to do all the backs first. And if I can even do this, I'm going to take this stop, put this right there to hold this down, push my little stop up against there, tighten it in, and that allows us to do all the backs. All right, here's the stack we got to get through. All right, I think the best way to get these all to line up well again is to get this first board where it belongs, flushed up against the back edge, and then stack in every other board. I kept them in order, and then fit that last board in, and then I can use a straight bar across the front, and then I can go one by one down and just screw in 2 screws. I'm just going to butt them hard up against each other because, like I said, I don't think humidity is ever going to be a problem in here. A very dry climate. Okay, they're back in, and what I did was get a piece of aluminum channel that looked pretty straight down the edge, and I just went down and kind of moved a board here and there until all of the edges lined up. They were all really, really close. And then I felt where that board is flush against the back of that leg and where that one's flush against the back of that leg. So this is pretty good if they don't move. So now I'm going to go down the line, just drilling them all in. All right, I need to clean a little first. Look how pleasing this is. It is exactly the size to clean that out. And this too. And it did a perfect job on it. Makes it all worth it. And we've arrived at the final bit of voiceover work. Hooray! So I'm just going down and putting a screw in each board, and they're all bumped upward in the middle, so that screw is pulling them all flat. It's very cathartic at this point to just watch them all sink flat onto the rails. All right, they all have their single screw. They're pretty sturdy. So the only thing I want to do on this now to finish it up is put some kind of strip on the front of here. I had this long board for a while now, and when I was doing some biscuit panel glue up stuff, I ripped the whole thing and went right through the biscuits to make it the right width. So it has that, and it also has pocket hole screws here and there. I kind of like using this because I could either hide that on the bottom or just rip it and cut that off, and these don't matter when they're on the back. It is exactly the right length. Okay, not exactly, but only that much off. So I'm thinking about it because it would get rid of some of this messy scrap that I never know what to do with. And I could just kind of glue on a couple of little pieces at the ends, you know, add a little contrast edge to it at the end. Maybe. I don't know, I'm weighing it. I'm gonna go think about it for a little bit. So what I've been doing is playing with some prototypes. These are 3D printed. I modeled them in CAD. And the idea is that 2 of these together are the 5/8 inches. So they're each 5/16 of an inch. And these fit if you drop them in here. And so the idea would be that these would be screwed onto the ends. They are exactly the same size as the ends. And these are test prints because I had white loaded, but I would be using black. And then this would push in like that, and it would just look like part of this. It would just look like the black was extending out. This, of course, is going to be on the front of the boards. So the other thing I'm thinking is I want to route a channel on the back here that is the size of those boards. Because the other issue is that when the board is up against the front, it sticks out a little bit in front of the leg. So I'd love it to drop back a little. Then instead of the cap, you know, being like where this roundover is, it'll be back a little in, you know, the flat part. Is it gonna work? I don't know. Let's find out. I need younger eyes. All right. This is some messy work here. This is not really the way you use a laminate trimmer. It's more for trimming laminate. Two things. I need dust collection. This is making the finest particles I've ever seen. The whole room is smoke. But the other problem is that the laminate trimmer is like red hot. It's actually kind of hard to hold on to. And that's because it's currently 95. Would you say that is? I think it's 95 degrees. What a mess. Okay, I think I got it. This was like a 2-day struggle to do this the wrong way. I can't wait till I get the router table all set up and the dust collector and all that stuff. Man, everything in the garage now, after I cleaned so many things in here for months, I can go around and just rub my finger on anything and it's got fine dust all over it. So the whole garage completely covered in dust. Let's take a look. It's yeah, it's a little messy, but the front's fine. That's just in. We still need the little caps to go on the end to fill up the end, but I have to do one more tweak. My first thought was to make a countersunk, which means that it has that funnel top to match the fluted heads. The problem is these didn't really fit well, even though it was a number 8 screw and the CAD's version of a number 8 hole. And also when you put them all the way in, when you fight them in there, a little bit of the screw would stick out the top like that much, so it was not flush. So I just eyeballed widening them up a little bit, and these work great. The screw goes all the way through, and they sit a little bit below the surface. And then my black filament finished drying, so I could print in that. And I decided, one of the problems I had was that I tried using a little poker here through these when I got them on the end of the board to mark the center. Of course, there's a lot of wiggle room. I should have printed a thing that fits over the end and gives you like a perfect little pinhole to poke, but whatever. The problem though is that when you screw in a fluted head into a countersunk hole, it pulls it into position. If you're a little off, it'll slide over to match up, which means your hole has to be exactly in the right spot, and they aren't. They're very slightly off. And so, you'd want this to line up on the top of the wood perfectly, but it would like do this a little or move over slightly. It was a little bit, but it looked bad to me. So I thought, okay, I don't want fluted head screws and countersinks. I want pan head screws, which are flat underneath, and counter bores. Now these I did wrong. I printed upside down. I meant to print them this way. And so there's a lot of overhang mess, so the screws wouldn't even fit in. So I did it again. Problem here is that the screws fit, but they just fit. And the whole point was to make it a little wider so that you could kind of wiggle this around and then tighten it up to get it exactly lined up. So this final one does widen them up a little bit. And because I felt like using some of my scrap screws, I thought, let me find 4 screws that'll work. And I could only find 3 that would work. And I found this one that's a little smaller. Because it's 3D printing, I just took one of them and I made here the left hole slightly smaller. So that one fits too, and it's got some wiggle room. Now we're on to this hoped final. This should fit on here. And there's a bevel here, right there, that indicates more work I have to do. I'm gonna have to bevel this edge. Since this is the front face here, putting it down on this metal, smooth metal, which means I can do this. And then I'm going to scribe the holes to find the centers, pre-drill them, and then hand screw in those screws so that I don't split it. Right, I switched to a pencil and I kept rotating it as I scribed so that all the different points of the pencil would hit. And it's pretty good. This worked really well. Well, I'm calling that a resounding success. It went on nicely, but this is flush. These are pretty flush. This is the 45 that I'm going to use a plane to bevel this to match. Okay, I thought all along these little black caps on the end to make the board long enough to fit are either going to be pretty awesome or they're not going to have been worth it. And I think I'm leaning a little toward the latter. So the problem is you can't really see them at all. They disappear. They were supposed to look, you know, kind of integral to the leg here. And I guess, yeah, they are a little bit. But, I don't know. No one's ever going to see it. And the problem is you still have the contrast between the two colors. So it just kind of looks like the rail doesn't make it all the way over to the edge. I'm going with it. I don't want to keep working on this anymore. But yeah, it is what it is. It's exactly the right size. This thing doesn't move at all. So all I need to do now is we have this bevel back here. So I'm going to just ease this. Every time I grab a case, I'm going to bang into this. So I just want to make a little ramp on the back edge. Then I can attach it and call this done. Haven't used this in a long time. It's just a Home Depot special, Buck Brothers. Okay, it worked. We got a 45-degree bevel here. It took a lot of passes. All right, let's attach this weird thing. Okay, a little bit of a ramped edge. The cases don't catch as hard. Now I have to drill holes all the way down this board. Everywhere I put a little dot, which is centered between the lines for where the boards are. And I turned this, turned the drill press here so that I could try to fit the entire thing. If I go all the way over, then I just missed the boards over there. If I go all the way over to this one, I just make it through there. That's fun when things work out randomly. So we're just going to make a bunch of small through holes, and then I'll flip the board and countersink them from the other side once I know where they are. Got our through hole. My countersink bit is mangled. So I'm going to try using a router bit, a V-point router bit, whatever they're called. All right, we got a whole shelf. Only took like 3.5 weeks. I mean, I've been doing other stuff too, but it's been so hot out here. I've been working a little bit at a time, and then going in and like editing videos and, you know, doing other inside stuff or outside stuff, but at least there's some wind. Done. On to something else. Isn't it it wonderful? It's so many things up and out of the way. And I still have all this space down here. In fact, let me get a tape measure. It is more than 20 inches, 20 and a quarter plus. That's a lot. It's a lot of space to store more things if I need to. I do love having the floor open, but it would be nice. Things like, you know, a filing box. I've got some crates of wood that are gonna have to go into there for now, so I don't leave them outside. All right, on to the next thing. Thanks again for coming along on this ride. It was really cool to build this case rack, get 10 cases and vacuums and things up off the floor. I've got a lot more videos coming. Please stay tuned. Not again.